It is good to be with you this morning, especially my fellow UU Congregation of Atlanta members, and for those members of Abundant Love, our friends and supporters who are with us this morning. I can't see you, but I feel you. I want to go on record this morning after the holidays that we had and the times that we've had recently to say that I am grateful to be here this morning. Grateful that somehow over the last 20 years or so, this congregation has supported the idea that I was a minister. Wow. I must have been so young when I arrived. I appreciate Shay giving us the story of the Good Samaritan. It's found in the Synoptic Gospels, in the book of Luke, chapter 10, verses 29 to 37, 8 verses. Wow. 8 simple verses to tell that powerful story. I'm going to delve in a little more to our story this morning, because the person who stopped Jesus to ask questions, we have a little bit of information about the characters in this story. One of them is that was a lawyer. So the intention of asking Jesus about who's my neighbor and how do I get to eternity and all of that may not have been so sweetly intended. It was probably to trap Jesus, because it all starts with, which commandment do you think was the best? And Jesus answers him. Now, what is interesting for us this morning is that this story doesn't involve miracles. No water divided, no food in little baskets going out to feed thousands, just a simple story. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and mind, and to your neighbor as you do yourself. Those few words worth a whole lot of sermons that we don't have time for this morning, unfortunately, but maybe later. We're going to try to honor the theme of transferring the power balance this morning in spite of the lawyer's bad questions. Who's my neighbor? And Jesus tells him this story. So there's a priest who passes by our certain man who fell among thieves. Shay gave him a good background. But in the story, according to the scriptures, he was almost dead. Not just thieves, but people who wanted to take everything from him. So the priest passes by on the other side. I might have fallen into the spiritual leadership group there. Whoa. So those of us who are leaders have to be careful. A Levite passes according to the story, and when I looked up the definition of Levite, it said that they serve in the temple. They're not the priests, but they're the people in charge of the construction. They also teach, and they made judicial decisions. Honored people in the temple, run the temple. Officials. There's a message there for some of us who could not see the community anymore because we lost our temple on Cliff Valley Way. Uh-oh, Duncan. If you've been struggling because of UUCA having a new place to be, you might want to look at this story. I'd ask that you not pass by me when I'm hurting because you're trying to get to the temple. And then a Samaritan, and Jesus is very deliberate about this, talking about flipping the balance of power. We had the official from the church, and I decided this Sunday I wouldn't wear a stole in case y'all put me with the priest. But I'm still dressed up in the pulpit, so I might get stuck with the Levites. But Jesus uses a Samaritan to change the story. He said he got off his beast. And then he did some healing work with wine and oil, not to get him drunk, but to heal his wounds. And then he put the man on his beast and took him to an inn, and then assured the innkeeper that I got this covered. All because somebody wanted to trick Jesus with questions about ranking the commandments. And then we get clear about who a neighbor is in the story. Who has imperial power nowadays? Who has the power to move religious folks or people who claim that they are spiritual but not religious? That's a thorn in my side. But anyway, I'm curious about what our historic Jesus would say about COVID this morning and its variants. Or would he ask us, how are we treating our neighbors? Who has the power to keep someone from being safe? To keep somebody from contracting this pandemic? Who has the power to influence the balance of what might be good for everyone this morning? And we all know some people this morning who have fell among thieves. Thieves that might have stolen the truth. Thieves that might have kept folks from doing what could save lives. And this morning, I'm asked that we go back to love thy neighbor as thyself, because he starts with the word love. Uh-oh. Maybe this whole story is about putting love where it isn't before. Let us put some things in balance. We hope to God that we're being the neighbors and not the thieves in this story. Who's in charge and who has fallen along the wrong road? We Unitarian Universalists have passed by some who have fallen among thieves. I hope we haven't many times, but occasionally we have. And I want you to be the certain people this morning who know that you and your life have also fallen among thieves and been left to die. We're not arguing about his place in society or what happened to him. We know. Who is our neighbor and what is our responsibility to do something for them? It seems like in this story, it's to save a life right now before we have a committee meeting about it. There's also a covenant going on between the innkeeper and the Good Samaritan, and the Good Samaritan has made a covenant with the man who was almost dying. And he doesn't attach anything else to the circumstances. Shay said he was Jewish. Jesus said he was just a certain man, Shay. Shay's sure of his religious background. I'm not. We're just going to help you. Who is passing by? Who's offering love, justice, and healing for the care of those who have fallen among thieves? The recent court cases this past month say something about where power lies and what we expect in our society, depending upon where we are. What we wish were new realities about loving our neighbor and caring for those who've fallen. I want to point out for our process that the Samaritan was not valued as a member of the Jewish tradition. Not because they weren't partially Jewish, but because in their history, they had also intermarried with some folks who had conquered the Jewish people. They don't meet our standards. His heritage caused the elite to look the other way. So who's doing good work, but we don't appreciate their lack of sophistication? Sometimes we use that excuse, I need more training before I can be a good neighbor. The story says you don't, that I don't need any more training. Use what I got to help those who are dying, not chronically in poverty, not chronically ill, but those who are dying. Eat right now. No time to waste. We have the notion that Jesus would have suggested that he would be a good Samaritan, even though, according to this account, he doesn't say that. Isn't that interesting? He didn't put himself in the story. That means we can. He's a teacher, but he's not identifying with the Levite nor the priest, but somebody whose background is questionable. Flipping power. I had to recently come to terms with these very circumstances, y'all, and I'm not proud of it, where my heart was needed in two different occasions with my friends. One involving somebody who was really upset about their friend who had COVID. And the other was one of these gender conundrum things. And it was pushing some of my buttons from my past. And both friends told me, Duncan, you know, it was really disappointing how you handled these situations, because I thought my Candler degree would be helpful, my immense intelligence and charm. And they simply wanted me to hold their story. I hurt two people I love because they needed me to stop trying to change the entire Jericho road and just pay attention to them in the moment, to be loving. They didn't need me to fix it, but they needed me to be with them. I also needed to find, at times in my life, someone who would hear my story about being fallen and bruised. And in that moment, I had no idea I held the power of love. And that's all they needed. And that's all I needed. And I had the chance to prove that love was more powerful than what happen to them. More power than their anxiety and worry about what has been going on with COVID and people who choose not to be vaccinated or to be vaccinated or wear a mask or fight about masks or whatever. In that moment, there was somebody who had fallen in pain and anxiety. In this simple story, Jesus twists and turns all the social expectations about who's expected to do the right thing into who does the neighborly thing. And we have folks watching us, y'all, who cannot figure out what this universal, that. They don't know what all that means. But they are watching us to see if we really believe in the power of love, if we're really walking past their pain, or will we stop and notice them and get off our high horse? Duncan. Long enough to be with folks who didn't go on the right road at the wrong time, or went on the wrong road at the right time. The story could have been an Islamic tale. It could have been a Buddhist parable, but it comes from our Christian and our Jewish tradition. Y'all, let's upend the power with power. The one power I know that's bigger than all the rest, love. And when I have fallen among thieves, please take pity on me and show me the mercy and forgive me. Please forgive me if I have passed you by. Amen.